So let's get right into it. We're looking at the big 2025 chip squeeze in India. Now, you might be thinking, oh, here we go again, another chip crisis like during the pandemic. But hold on, this is a whole different beast. The cause is new, the impact is way broader, and it's the real reason the tech in your hands is getting more and more expensive.
Let me ask you something. Have you noticed it lately? Maybe that new phone you've been looking at costs just a little bit more than you thought it would, or the specs on that new budget laptop seem kinda underwhelming for the price tag? Yeah, you're not imagining things. There's a very real reason you feel like you're paying more to get less.
All right, so let's dig into that first part, this whole idea of paying more for less. Because that feeling you have, it's not just a hunch, it's a fact, and the market data backs it up.
India has always been this amazing market for affordable, budget-friendly tech, but that's starting to change. You see, the very guts of our devices, the core components like DRAM memory that makes them run fast and the NAND flash that stores all your photos and apps, well, the price for those parts has shot way up. And of course, that extra cost has to go somewhere.
So what are the big brands doing about it? Well, some are just being upfront and raising their prices. Others are being a bit more sneaky about it. Maybe they'll quietly cut back on a feature that used to be standard, or they'll give you less storage than they did last year. The bottom line? The value you're getting for your hard-earned money is shrinking.
But look, this isn't just a simple story about rising prices. It's way more complicated than that. I know, when you hear chip shortage, your mind probably flashes back to 2021, right? But what's happening now is a fundamentally different kind of problem.
You remember back then, the issue was pretty straightforward. Factories were shut down, shipping was a mess. Well, those problems are mostly fixed now. Production is back online. The real issue today isn't that we can't make chips. It's about which chips are getting all the attention and manufacturing priority. And hey, this isn't just about your phone or laptop. The car industry is still getting hammered by this, especially the high-tech vehicles. As you can see right here, electric vehicles and all those new luxury cars with advanced driver assist systems that's at us, they all need these super specific high-grade chips. And when they can't get them, production slows to a crawl, wait times get ridiculously long, and, you guessed it, prices go up. Okay, so if the factories are working and the supply lines are open, what is going on? What's the real culprit here? Well, this is where our story takes a really interesting turn. Because it turns out the AI revolution is having a very unexpected and very expensive side effect for the rest of us. And this right here, this breaks down the simple economics of the whole problem. On one hand, you've got the standard chips for our phones and cars. They make a little bit of profit. But on the other hand, you have these things called high bandwidth memory, or HBM chips. These are the absolute powerhouse chips that run AI data centers. And guess what? They are insanely profitable. So if you're a chip maker, what are you going to do? You follow the money. You switch your production lines over to making AI chips, and that leaves a lot less room for the everyday tech we all rely on. And this quote just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? This massive global race to build out the world's AI infrastructure is literally eating up the manufacturing capacity that used to make the parts for our phones, our laptops, and our cars. It's like the future is borrowing, or maybe stealing, from the present. It's a really simple domino effect when you lay it all out. First, the AI boom creates this massive, insatiable demand for those specialized HBM chips. Second, the factories, seeing where the big money is, pivot their entire production to chase that profit. And third, the direct consequence is that there are just fewer standard chips being made for, well, for everything else. But here's the thing. The AI boom is just the latest problem. It's like adding a huge new weight onto a system that was already wobbling on the edge. So let's zoom out for a second and look at the bigger picture. The whole system that gets chips from a factory to your device is incredibly fragile. I mean, it's constantly walking a tightrope. Think about all the things that could knock it off balance. Geopolitical flare-ups, new trade bans, even a natural disaster like an earthquake hitting one of the main manufacturing hubs. A single fire in one critical factory could send the whole global market into a tailspin, all over again. And if you really want to see why it's so fragile, just look at this. The concentration is just staggering. The vast majority of the world's most advanced chips are made in just a couple of places, primarily Taiwan and South Korea. When you have an entire global industry depending so heavily on just one or two spots on the map, any problem there becomes a massive crisis for literally everyone else. Okay, so that's the global picture. But what does all of this mean for India specifically? Let's bring this story back home. India has these massive, incredible ambitions, right? We're talking a huge push for electric vehicles, a complete digital transformation of the country. But this whole chip situation is a brutal reminder that all of that progress is built on a foundation, a silicon backbone that we just don't control. And until India's own domestic chip manufacturing can really get up to speed, we're going to be vulnerable to these wild global price swings and supply shocks.
There's a saying that just perfectly sums this all up. Think about it. In the 20th century, oil was everything. It dictated economic power, it shaped geopolitics. Well, in the 21st century, that resource is semiconductors. Chips are the engine of our entire modern world. And having control over that supply, that's not just business, that's a matter of national importance.
And all of this really boils down to one final, absolutely crucial question. As we try to navigate all these global pressures, from the AI boom to this fragile supply chain, can India truly build a self-reliant digital future? Because as we've seen, it's not just about getting cheaper phones. It's about securing the very foundation of our nation's progress. Something to think about.